All right, what's up, everybody? Jimmy V here, checking in. Can you guys hear me okay? If so, give me a quick situation report. Let me know that you are good to go. Welcome to VA Loans Live. I've been trying to do this now for a while, and that's just get on every Sunday night, hang out with you guys, and answer, answer any VA loan related questions. So if you're joining us, I've got a couple of things that I want to discuss tonight, specifically related to seller concessions and how it affects or impacts the veteran or active duty service member. It's something that I'm seeing more and more of when they're wanting to purchase a home. So why do you need to know this? Well, because if you can get into a home with literally no out-of-pocket expenses and no money down, it's a pretty good thing, right? So this is something that I want you to be aware of. So if you're joining me for the first time, welcome. If you have questions about your VA home loan benefit at any time, please ask it. So that way we can make sure that you are leaving here, more educated than when you joined, right? Well, I should say specifically related to the VA home loan. Good to go. So anyways, welcome. I want to explain seller concessions. So let me start out by kind of unpacking what is seller concessions. So let's say, for example, you want to buy a home, right? You're out looking for property and you identify a home. Let's just say I'm the seller of that property. You say, hey, Jimmy. I say, yes, Mr. Veteran, right? I want to buy your home for, I don't know, $500,000, okay? I say, okay, I'm listening. And you say, well, I want to buy your home for $500K, but I also want you to pay for the seller concessions. You say, well, okay, how much are you asking for? Well, Jimmy, I'm thinking 2 or 3% of the purchase price. So if you're buying my home for $500,000, $500K, right? That's $10,000 to $15,000. Okay. So there are costs associated with purchasing a home. Okay. Those costs can really vary depending upon what state you're moving into. A lot of veterans will reach out to me and they'll say, well, dude, I didn't know that you had to pay money at closing to buy a house. Well, regardless of the loan type that you're using, you're always going to pay money to purchase a home. And if you're just joining me, I'm talking about seller concessions. This is VA Loan Live. Got a little sun, you guys. I was playing tennis today and I don't know, got torched up. So anyways, I'm explaining seller concessions. So there's costs associated with purchasing the property. That could include things like prepaid taxes, prepaid interest, prepaid insurance, the first year hazard insurance premium, the lender's costs, title, escrow, appraisal, credit reports, et cetera, right? So when you're buying a home, you need to budget for these costs, right? And by budgeting for these costs, you'll know what or how much you'll need to bring to the closing table when you close on your property. That could take anywhere from 30 to 45 days, depending upon how quickly you want to move into your home. So my point in sharing this is that the market that we're moving into, sellers are willing to negotiate. Let me repeat that one more time. Sellers are willing to negotiate. VD Grani says, isn't VA concessions 4%? So VD, are you in the industry? Because you're pretty spot on, my friend. Yes, VA seller concessions are in fact 4%. Now, I want to kind of unpack that a little bit. Michael says it's all so complicated. You know what, Michael? It might be, and my job or my focus is to try and explain it in a way that makes sense, right? Uncomplicated, because at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't need to be. So VD, here's what I want you to know. Yes, VA seller concessions are capped at 4%, okay? However, like if I showed you right now the VA lender's handbook, you'd see that it says, when determining whether or not the seller concessions exceed 4%, don't include the normal or customary closing costs. So that's things like discount points, credit report, processing, application, underwriting, and so forth. So in fact, VD, you can actually go higher than 4%. You following me along, VD? What industry are you going into? Are you going to be a mortgage loan originator or are you going to be a real estate agent? Let me know in the comment section. So Michael, I hope that answers or kind of sheds some light. So the seller can give us as the veteran, when we're purchasing a home, 4% or even more. So what I'm seeing personally right now in the marketplace, I just had a veteran who watches this channel Find me on YouTube. Closed on his house, okay? Closed last week. He got all of his closing costs paid for by the seller, number one. And number two, he also got a new roof covered by the seller before he even moved in. Right on, Vidi. All right. She said she's going to be an MLO. That stands for Mortgage Loan Originator, you guys. So, Vidi, if I could ever be a resource for you and answer any questions, I'm happy to do so. Okay. I'm not hard to find. All you got to do is go to my website. You can reserve a time to speak with me, and I'll share with you everything that I know. All right. So, Vidi, what market are you in, friend? Let me know what market you're in. So if you're just watching, I'm explaining VA seller concessions. Okay. I'm explaining why this is important because, guys, listen, right now they're talking a lot about inventory increasing. So what does that mean for you and I? It means that if you want to purchase a home, you have more options available. Here's what it also means. It means that if a seller is wanting to sell you a home, the veteran, well, they're competing with more sellers. So what happens? Well, they're going to do whatever they can to win your offer. Okay. So AZ Lee Life and Shoppers. Hello. Good evening from Tucson. What's up, sister? I'm located in Phoenix. So special shout out to our neighbors down the road here. I'm finally closed after close last October 14th, 6.1 rate. Thank you for every single video you make and how to use the VA for a multi-unit loan. So that's a beautiful thing. Thank you for watching the channel. I appreciate that. And that brings me great joy to hear you say that. You know, I'm proud of this channel. If you go back to my oldest videos, you guys, I started uploading VA loan videos back in 2000, I think it was 13. And I'm talking about having multiple VA loans at the same time. Nobody was doing this at the time. In fact, there was a ton of VA loan haters out there that would say things like, oh, you don't want to use a VA loan. You want to go with different types of financing. Man, don't listen to those jokers. Now VA loans are in vogue. Everybody wants to do them. And, you know, I'm not salty about that. I think it's a good thing that more veterans are being taken care of. But those jokers weren't preaching that news back in the day. All right. Anyways, I digress. So VA seller concessions, with more sellers that are competing with you, the buyer, they want to do anything that they can to sell you that property. You tracking with me on that? So that includes paying all of your closing costs, right? Now, it doesn't mean every single seller every single time is going to pay for your closing costs, but what it does mean, and I'm seeing this more often than not, is sellers want to play ball. The needle has moved towards the veteran or active duty service member that wants to use their VA loan. In fact, I'm just getting ready to upload a 7 VA loan trends and changes. I'm pretty excited about it, you guys. Hopefully it does well. But in this video, I talk about seller concessions. Now, here's the neat thing about seller concessions that you can do. You can even use those seller concessions to pay off your debt. I know I'm getting a little excited, you guys. You can use seller concessions to pay off your debts at closing. I mean, what other loan type can you do this? Answer, there are none. Okay. You can use VA seller concessions to pay off your lease so you can get into a home sooner, right? And not have to break the bank or break the lease with your current landlord to get into that property. All right. So if you're joining me, I'm talking about VA loans and seller concessions and how the needle is moving towards veterans and active duty military in this market that we're in today. And so if you do have follow-up questions and you want to reserve a time to speak with me, I'm not hard to find. All you have to do is go to my website, VAloans4bets.com. You can schedule a time for a free preliminary mortgage consult. Andre says, what's up, Andre? Thanks for chiming in. But thank you for, oh, let me see here. You should be proud. Some people are saying you have to roll your current home loan into another loan before they issue another VA home loan, even though you still have entitlement. So Andre, this is something that you're kind of, you're hitting a sensitive spot for me, right? And my point in sharing that is if you go back again to those older videos, I talk about how to have more than one VA loan at the same time. VA guidelines haven't changed, okay? You can have multiple VA loans at the same time, All right. Don't let any mortgage lender tell you otherwise. Okay. And make sure that you're sharing this information with other vets and other active duty military, right? It can't just be me. I can't reach everybody. I need you, right, to help me spread the good news of VA loans, right? So yes, you can have multiple VA loans at the same time, number one. Number two, right, it just has to be your primary residence, okay? And by the way, guys, if you feel like I've earned it so far and I'm providing value, consider showing your love, clicking like on the video, so that way after we're done here, we can educate more with this live stream. Roger that. That'll be my gift or your gift to me, all right? So yeah, you can have more than one VA loan at the same time, Andre. And a lot of people tell veterans and active duty service members this stuff when in fact it's not true. So what other questions do you guys have for me? So to kind of VD's point, okay, she said, hey, is it 4%? Yes, it's 4% seller concession. So if you were buying my home for $500,000, technically you could ask for $20,000 in seller concessions. Now, I've got a bone to pick with somebody here, okay? If you search long enough and you search hard enough, you will see this individual on YouTube talking about VA loans, okay? And so, you know, I'm not saying, I'm just saying I may have had to go undercover to see what this person was talking all about, okay? And attend one of their webinars, right? And when somebody is, how should I say this, kind of selling the sizzle, right? You just have to exercise caution, okay? And that's my point and what I'm trying to share with you. Anybody that is getting you to sign up for a course specifically related to VA loans, guys, I'm just going to tell you, you don't have to do that. You can watch my videos for free, right? And you can deploy this information that I'm giving you whenever you want and whenever you're ready. You don't need to buy somebody else's course to listen to what it is that I'm sharing with you. Good to go? So inside of that webinar that I attended, this individual said, well, you know what? Veterans are getting paid to buy homes right now. And they got money back at closing from the seller. And guys, that's not true. You can't do that. That's not how VA loans work. Yes, you can get your earnest money back, but you're not getting paid to buy a house. VA seller concessions, right, can be used to cover the closing costs. They can be used to buy out your lease, pay off debts, right, and allow you, most importantly, to get into a home with no out-of-pocket expenses and no money down. You tracking with me on that? So Michael asked the question. Michael, thank you for your question here. Is there an age limit to use a VA loan? I'm a vet in my 50s looking to buy. Michael, good question, sir. There is no age limit. Mortgage lenders may not. It is against the law. VD's probably learning about this right now in her MLO licensing course, okay? It is against the law for us to discriminate on anybody because of their age, race, color, creed, sex, origin, right? It doesn't matter. So Michael, simple question, simple answer, okay? Yeah, man, it doesn't matter if you're 50, 60, 70. I've helped Korean war vets utilize their VA home loan benefit before. So I appreciate all of the engagement. Sometimes I get on here, guys, and I'm like talking for 15, 20 minutes, and it is awfully lonely, okay? So thank you. This makes time fly, and it makes it a little bit fun. Well, not a little bit fun. It makes it fun. And if you want, you can consider subscribing to the channel so that way you can stay informed. Keep your finger on the pulse, as I like to say, of what's happening with VA loan benefits. I'll be uploading this week 7 VA loan trends to look out for 2026. I'm pretty excited about this video. You know, there's a lot to learn as a YouTube kind of, well, I don't want to call myself a YouTuber, but I will say that I'm a businessman that utilizes YouTube, right, to be able to serve my clientele. In this case, that's you, veterans and active duty military. So my point in sharing that is that I'm excited because I've really gone much deeper on the editing process and really trying to just provide you guys with as much value as I possibly can. Okay, so some of you may be wondering a little bit about me. I don't think I've had the time to, properly introduce myself. My name is Jimmy V, Marine vet, MLO, mortgage loan originator, specializing in VA loans. I've been serving veterans all across the country for the last 20 years, specifically with VA home loan benefits. So everything that I share on this channel is kind of the way the VA home loan benefit works, dispelling myths, right? Education. And if you guys would like to schedule a preliminary mortgage consult with me, it's totally free to do so. You say, well, Jimmy, what's in it for you? Well, what's in it for me is I get to help you, right? If you choose to lock arms with me, right? What's in it for you? Well, you get valuable VA loan information. And if we're a good fit, we can work together. And if you want to go out and work with somebody else, at least you've got the facts that you can deploy to the marketplace. Roger that. What's up, Jason E? I served with a Jason E. So I wonder if you're my brother in arms here. So what's the best time of year to buy, in your opinion? Looking forward to buying my first home, new construction. God bless. Hey, God bless you too, my brother. So Jason, it's funny. I heard a quote the other day. Do you know who Charlie Munger is? So Charlie Munger was Warren Buffett's right-hand man. Okay, he was part owner of Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's famous business partner. And here's what he said, Jason. You know the best time to buy a house? You want to know when the best time to buy a house is? Somebody type it in the chat box and let me know what you guys think. When is the best time to buy a house? Let me hear what you have to say. I'm going to take a quick sip here. What do you guys think? Don't make me be the only one here talking, guys. You've been so good with engagement. When's the best time? Is it spring? Is it fall? Is it a presidential election? Hector said yesterday. That's a good point, Hector. I like that. That's not the answer I was looking for, but I don't disagree with you. VD says anytime. I don't disagree with you either. So I appreciate the kind of input there, you guys. Jason, here's what Charlie Munger said, and I thought it was really good. You know when the best time to buy a house is? Okay? When you need one. When you need one. Like, that's it. Do you need a house? And if the answer to that question is yes, then consider buying a house. Now, of course, Jason, there's boxes that you have to check, right? You need to make sure that you have a piece about it, right? Monthly payment, cash to close, right? All of these things, and a good mortgage lender will identify where you want to be in the form of a monthly payment, and they'll reverse engineer a mortgage payment according to your purchase price. You tracking with me on that? So that's what they need to do. So if you told me, hey, Jimmy, I want to buy a home, I want my payment to be at $2,000 a month, I'd say, Jason, okay, we would probably want to keep your purchase price at or around 275, 300K. So back to Charlie Munger. When you need one, okay, and you're ready, and of course you have a piece about it. Now, Hector, I don't disagree with you, brother. Okay, Hector, are you still on the chat with me, my man? Hector, here's what we've learned about real estate. Historically speaking, it's only done one thing, and that's go up. So I've talked about this in some of my live streams before. When many of us have 401ks in here, right? We invest in our retirement, and we do that because we operate under the bias that over, 10, 20, 30, 40 years that money's invested, that it's going to go up. Why? Because the stock market has always, historically speaking, not on a daily basis, right? There hasn't been, the extreme lows and dips in there with crashes and whatnot, but over time, it's always done one thing, and that's go up. We don't ask the question when we're investing in our 401k, is now a good time to invest in our 401k? Do we not? Of course we don't, right? So my thought process, Jason, is that we should look at real estate the same way. Excuse me. You buy a home when you're ready. You hold on to it. You live in it. And somebody said this, that real estate happens to be the only investment that you can live in. Right now, I'm inside of my home. Right. I've lived in this home for 10 years. I'm living in this investment, and it's appreciated in value over time. Everybody tracking with me on that? So again, I appreciate the engagement, you guys. Thank you for all of the wonderful questions. I've been talking about VA loans, seller concessions, negotiating with sellers, right? Because in this market that we're in today, with inventory increasing, right, more sellers are going to be competing to sell you their house, right? So if they're doing that, they might say, oh, hey, we want to buy my home. I'll pay all of your closing costs. right? I'll pay all of your prepaid taxes, interest, insurance, and now you're able to get into a home with no money down and no out-of-pocket expenses. You tracking with me on that? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Are we on the same sheet of music? All right, I'm just having fun with you guys, all right? Painful loss for my Raiders today, but I kind of feel like we still won because we had the opportunity to tie it, and we went for 2 and still lost. But I don't know, kind of a heroic loss in my opinion. But anyways, life is tough being a Raider fan. I will not deny that. But anyway, what questions do you guys have for me? Where are you guys at? What part of the country are you at? I want to hear from you. Anybody in North Carolina, South Carolina? Shout out to the Eastern Seaboard. All right, second place is first loser. Come on, Hector. Come on, man. It was going so well. I'm in DC, but a lifelong Raiders fan. Shout out to Michael, silver and black, baby. I love it. So yeah, it's interesting because, you know, so many more people are watching my videos now from all across the country. And it's been a lot of fun to kind of hang out with you guys and, you know, whether it's Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Texas, and so forth. What other questions? Salem, Oregon. What's up, Jason? Salem, Oregon. Cali. We're at in Cali, BD. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, born and raised. All right. So what other questions can I answer for you guys? I've been going now for about 20 minutes. Do you guys understand the VA loan seller concession kind of idea and how that works now? Do you understand that you can buy a home with no money down and no out-of-pocket expenses? Now, of course, the seller has to agree to this, right? But it absolutely can be done. Shout out to Jersey, Miss Fletcher. Appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Okay. Riverside. All right. Riverside County. Shout out to Riverside County. Now, here's one thing that you should be aware of, and I'll talk about this in 2026 with this upload that I'm going to be doing here shortly, is that VA loan limits will most likely be going up. This is important for you to know because it affects or impacts VA bonus entitlement and how much VA loan you can use for multiple properties. So it looks like, and this isn't gospel yet, so don't hold me to this because it hasn't been announced. Every year in December, or it might be towards the end of November, FHFA announces the new conforming loan limit. And so from what I'm hearing, word on the street, right? Scuttlebutt is telling me it's going to be somewhere around $819,000. That's going to be the VA conforming loan limit. Now, here's a question for you guys. If you're watching this, what is the maximum loan limit for a VA loan? Type in the chat box. I want to hear, or I want to test your VA loan knowledge here. What is the maximum loan amount for a VA loan? Hector, when you say concession is an ask, how do you mean exactly, bro? Put a point on that question for me so that way I can answer it. But I did ask you guys a question and nobody's chimed in yet. What is the maximum VA loan limit? Okay. Paul says there are no VA loan limits. Jason says 900K. Michael says there is no limit, I'm assuming. Miss Fetcher says, I just don't know. All right, perfect. So here's the answer, okay? And shout out to Paul for joining in. The VA does not have a maximum loan amount, okay? A lot of people don't know that. So in 2020, the Trump administration signed into law something called the Vietnam Veteran Blue Water Initiative Act. Inside of that bill, it lifted the cap on VA loans. So Paul is spot on, okay? The VA does not have a maximum loan amount. However, they have a maximum guarantee. You tracking with me on that? So when we say VA loans, you guys, it's actually quite tricky, or maybe it's not tricky isn't the right word. It's misleading because it's not a VA loan. You don't get a loan from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you know that? Like a lot of veterans say, well, I'm just going to go get a VA loan, right? VA is going to automatically approve me. It's like not so fast, right? You still got to get approved from a credit perspective, from an income perspective. And at the end of the day, it's the lender lending you, the veteran, the money. All the VA does is guarantee the loan by 25%. So VA has a maximum guarantee that they'll give us as veterans. But here's what happened. 2020, they lifted that cap. So now what happens is a veteran can get a VA loan up to any purchase price they would like with no money down if they don't have a VA loan. Okay? If they don't have a VA loan. So if Paul came to me and said, hey, Jimmy, I want to buy a $3 million home, put no money down. I am a baller. I make $200,000 a month, $2.4 million a year. I'd say, roger that, Paul. 800 credit score. Paul's buying a home, $2 million, $3 million with no money down. Paul, you like the way that sounds, brother? All right. So yes, this is the only loan that you can do that with. Okay. There is no other financing type that this can be done with. Okay. Now, if you have an existing VA loan, that's where things change a little bit. So right now in most counties across the nation, now there are such things called, Paul said, yes, sir. There are some counties across the nation that are considered high cost counties. But in most counties across the nation, the current VA loan limit is $806,500. Okay. So that means if you use the VA loan, you're capped at $806,500. Okay. Michael says, this is random question. What are your thoughts on HOAs as stated earlier? Thinking about buying maybe a condo, and I've read about and seen reports about HOA horror stories. So yeah, Michael, I'll talk about that here in just a second. Let me put a point on this thought and then I'll kind of move over to HOAs because it's a solid question, right? I don't live in an HOA in my neighborhood, and I can't say that, I miss being in an HOA because I was in one. Anyways, so the VA has a maximum guarantee if you have an existing VA loan. So think about it like this. If you use $300,000, right, and the conforming loan limit's $806,500, you've got about $506,500 to use on the next house. Does that make sense, you guys? So they've got a max guarantee, no maximum loan limit. And in some circumstances, if you want to go above the maximum, you can have unlimited VA loans. You just have to come up with a 25% guarantee from the lender. Let me repeat that. You can have as many VA loans as you want, but when you exhaust the guarantee, when you use it all, right? VA says, hey, we're not putting any more money in, in guarantees for this veteran. You have to come up with the 25% guarantee by yourself. And in most cases, that's done, not in all cases, that's done with a 25% down payment. Okay. So guys, if you're enjoying this live stream so far and you feel like I've earned it, hey, do me a favor, consider showing your love, clicking like on the video. It helps to promote the channel, promote this live stream to other vets that are watching this video. Okay. So Jason, let's talk a little bit about your question here, or I think it was Michael. Michael asked the question about HOAs. I don't have a beef with HOAs. Okay. Now, some of them can be annoying. Like, here's an invoice for $75 because somebody parked on the street overnight. It's like, dude, come on, bro. My family was visiting from out of town. Not cool. Anyway, so there are 8 people that like on the board of HOAs that are just flat out annoying. But if you're buying a condo, you want to make sure that the HOA is legit, dude, that they do a good job kind of maintaining the community. Now, when you're using a VA loan to purchase a condo, VA vets out the HOA. So me as the mortgage originator / mortgage lender, we have to go to the VA's website to ensure that the property that you're buying has a legitimate HOA, right? That it's, what's the word? Not fluent, that it's reserved, right? That they've got money in the bank, that there's no discrepancies, like the HOA isn't in litigation or anything like that. So yeah, man, I mean, can they be annoying? Sure. But if they do a good job and they're keeping common areas clean and everything else that comes along with, preserving a property, they can also preserve your value, Michael. So, it's just got to be the right one, bro. Hey, Rangers lead the way. This man right here, you guys, is always showing the love on my videos, man. You get people that like just support you all the time that are like, man, I see you, and they're always showing respect and love and encouragement. It's that man right there. Rangers lead the way. So he's an MVP for me. So I see you, I appreciate you, and I appreciate the support. Okay, brother? All right, so what questions do you have for me? Guys, I need a drink. I'm talking too much. Oh, I know what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what happened last week. Did you guys tell me what happened last week? What happened last week with the Fed, you guys? What did they do? They did what? They CUT, right? Miss Fletcher says, what is your email? 25 bips down, Hector. You're spot on. Yep, Michael, you're spot on. My email address is jimmy@valoans4vets.com, you guys, okay? You can schedule a time to speak with me there. So yeah, you guys are all on it, doggone it, all right? I was serving a active duty service member Army, and I said, hey, here's the thing. I think he was a sergeant first class. I said, hey, Sergeant First Class, here's what we're going to need to do. W-2s, LES reports, bank statements, and your military ID. He says, I'm on it, doggone it. And I never forgot that, man. And I absolutely love that. VD says, you are the GOAT of VA loans. I've been called a lot of things before, but never the GOAT of VA loans, all right? So VD, I appreciate the love on that, my friend. VD, let's connect, okay? Hit me up after this. Let's connect for a phone call. So you guys are an educated group, right? Hopefully it's because you've been watching my videos, but at the same time, you've been watching what's going on in the news, right? But yeah, the Fed did decrease the federal funds rate by 25 basis points. So that's good news, right? Like, what is the Fed designed to do? They want to fan the flame of the economy, right? They want to keep that fire burning. So when they're hiking rates or decreasing rates, what they're trying to do is either cool down or heat up the economy. And so if they're going like this, right, and decreasing the Fed funds rate by 25 basis points, they're trying to heat up the economy. So when that happens, you guys, here's what I want you to know. You are going to know more than a lot of mortgage loan originators after this. I know this sounds scary, but it's true. When the Fed decreases the Fed funds rate, that makes things like auto loans, credit cards, HELOCs, and adjustable rate mortgages go lower. But what actually happened, Jason, spot on, but mortgage rates went up, didn't they? They sure did, brother, okay? So what happened is interest rates went up the day the Fed cut rates. And so I put out a video on YouTube. I think it was a short at the beginning of the week. I said, guys, the Fed's going to cut rates, but that's not the important part. What the important part is what they're going to say, or what Fed Chair Jerome Powell is going to say in his policy statement. That's where, as they say, the magic happens. Here's what he said, okay? He said, it is not a foregone conclusion that there is going to be a rate cut in December, period. And then there were three words that really pissed off investors afterwards. I'm going to type in the chat box. Not even close. That's what he said. And the second that happened, mortgage-backed securities sold off in a major way, finished the day down 34 basis points. It was a bad day for mortgage interest rates. So the market had been betting or anticipating that we were going to get another 25 basis point cut in December. So the tone that he struck was something called hawkish. Hawkish in economics, I learned, is basically he is continuing to stick it to inflation. He's continuing to fight inflation. What investors wanted was a dovish tone. We're going to help out the economy. We're going to do everything that we can. And if that means lowering rates, then we'll do it to continue to fan the flame, stoke the fire of the economy, right? That's not what happened. In addition to that, there was a 10-2 vote that basically one elected Fed official wanted to decrease the Fed funds rate even more than 25 basis points. I forget the gentleman's name. If it comes to me, oh shoot, I just had it. But he wanted more than 25. I don't know who this guy is. I can't remember his last name, but I like him, okay? Because he's like, you know, he wants to kind of continue to see interest rates go lower. Now, there was one other guy, however, and this guy He was a real piece of work, okay? He was from Kansas City, all right? Now, he was probably a Chiefs fan too, all right? And his name was Jeffrey Schmidt. It's not Schmidt, it's something close to Schmidt or something like that. And so he voted that we shouldn't even be cutting rates, that they should be holding. And I'm like, oh my gosh, who is this joker, right? How far removed is he from the economy to think this? And I got to think that the guy's a bright guy, intelligent guy, but like, dude, have you been to Chipotle lately? Try and take a family of 4 to Chipotle. Let me know how much it costs. It's going to cost you north of $50. And if you want the chips and guac, right, and a couple of drinks, it's going to be north of 60. Could a family of 4 go to Chipotle for a parent that was earning, I don't know, minimum wage, $15 an hour? It'd take them 4 hours of work to pay for that darn thing, right? You're telling me that you think, the cost of goods and services is okay where it's at? No, man. No, not okay. Shout out to the Eagles who put it on the Chiefs last year. You know what I mean? So anyways, just not a fan of Kansas City, number one. And number two, I'm not a fan of this joker that said that that rates we shouldn't be cutting anymore. It's mind-boggling to me. I don't know how far removed he is from reality, but anyways, I'm starting to go on a little bit of a rant. I don't want to seem bitter. But that's a little bit about what happened last week. So guys, remember, mortgage rates, KC lost today. I didn't see that. That's a beautiful thing. About time. They were going on a run there. But mortgage rates change on a daily basis depending upon what's going on in the economy. So if you want to monitor what's going on in the economy, I'm about to give you a simple framework to do so. There's 3 reports: CPI, PPI, and PCE. I talk about these a lot in my live stream. CPI is Consumer Price Index. This is where the government selects a basket of goods and services and measures the price on them. That's what they're using to track inflation. PPI, Producer Price Index, measures inflation on a wholesale level. Why is that important? Because we want to know what it's costing our manufacturers to create goods, because at the end of the day, guess who has to pay for that? You and I do, right? And then lastly, the Fed's favorite measure of inflation is the PCE report, Personal Consumption Expenditure. It's like a giant receipt of how Americans are spending their money and what they're spending it on. So anyway, those are the 3 reports that you can follow along with me, right? You don't have to be a mortgage loan originator to know what mortgage rates, CPI, PPI, PCE. Thank you, Ms. Fletcher. You're spot on. So you don't have to be a mortgage loan originator to follow this stuff, right? I mean, guys, I've learned all of this over 20 years of mortgage loan origination. People think it's kind of like when you go to the doctor's office and they use some really kind of detailed word to describe a condition, and you're like, oh my God, what's that mean? Like, oh, you just have a cold, right? All these reports, they sound crazy, but they're not really that complex when you start to learn about them. So CPI, PPI, PCE, yes. Now the Fed is looking for inflation to be at or around 2%. So 2%, right now we're at around 3%, so it's still a little bit high. Long story short, right? I think that 3% might be the new 2%. That's just my best guess, but what do I know? So guys, if you want to reserve the time to speak with me, you're welcome to do so. If you have questions about your VA home loan benefit, I want you to know I'm here to be a resource, okay? That's my job, right? Also, if you want to go on my website and find out if you're VA loan ready, you can certainly do that. You can visit my website by going to www.valoansforvets.com. Isn't that a beautiful domain? I bought that domain like 12 years ago, right? Love my domains, my baby. VAloansforvets.com. All right. And so, yeah, I think that's about all I have. Unless you guys keep asking me questions, I'll stick around a little bit longer. But do you guys have any questions? I don't want to wear out my welcome. You guys have already been most gracious with your time with me. So Rangers Lead the Way says, we appreciate all you do for us vets and realtors. Take care, brother. Yeah. So RLTW attended one of my courses once. I was teaching the VA loan courses out in the West Valley, right? We serve. I was teaching it's called MRP, Military Relocation Professional. It's where real estate agents can go to get certified to serve veterans and active duty military. And that's where we met. So at least I think that's where we met. But anyways, Paul says, I agree with VD Grani on your GOAT title. You're number one on YouTube search for VA loans. Dude, that's out. No, thank you for sharing that. That's good. That's good intel, Paul. So Paul, appreciate you. If you guys don't have any other questions for me, I think I'm going to call it a night. But I'm going to give you one more opportunity to keep me going here. All right. Do you guys have any questions before I check out? Going once? Going twice? All right, everybody. I appreciate all of you. Thanks for watching. If you feel like I've earned it, consider showing your love, clicking like on the video. Also, if you want to learn more about VA loan benefits, subscribe to the channel. So that way we can educate more vets in active duty military across the board. Be on the lookout for my most recent video coming out. Hey, guys, thank you seriously for watching here. It's really neat that you guys hung out with me on a Sunday night. I'm sure you could have been doing a lot of other things, but the fact that you hung out with me means a lot. So much love to all of you. Thank you for your service to our great country. And I'm sure we'll be in touch soon. Here to be a resource if you need anything after the call. Take care, guys.